Hi everybody, I'm back. It's been a while since I've done the last video. So today I want to talk a little bit about two themes. One, sub-minor scales. So that means between the second and the minor third we have something that's a bit smaller. So in this case, I didn't try to go for an exact 7/6 or even an 8/7 with like a super major second or something. I tuned the fifth from C. We're in C right now for this, and I tuned the second. So we have the 9/8 as the second and the 3/2 as the fifth. It should still be pretty nice throughout the octaves. And I dropped the minor third to try to get it quite close to the major second. Still obviously different. It's a pretty nice interval. It could actually be close to the 7/6, but it seems like it has a bit of a different vibe. And another way to find other tones, if you want, you can always go down with the super particular numbers like 6/5, 7/6, 8/7, 9/8, 10/9. Those are always going to get smaller. They're going to start approaching semitones that start approaching the unison, basically. You can also find a tone between two tones by adding the top and the bottom numbers of the ratio. So if we want a tone between 7/6 and 8/7, we could add the top ones. 8 and a 7 give us 15, and then 7 and 6 together give us 13. So 15 over 13 is like that. The note between the sub-minor third and the super major second, if you could put it that way. So that's a different interval. It's kind of an interesting one. It's got a 13 on the bottom, so it's like a 13 subharmonic. It's got 15 on the bottom, or 15 on the top, which is a limit. So those kind of intervals are kind of ask the question of like, how do we even hear those or learn to hear them? Well, you have to start going into more context and finding the area, and then finding some spots between there and seeing what those notes could be if we want to classify them, and if we want to see what effects different numbers have on the harmonics and the sound and so of that. So if we're thinking that this is even going to be lower, we could also do something that's like, oh, let's find something between 9/8 and 7/6. So we're actually going to end up getting 8/7 because we add 9 and 7, it gives us 14, and then we add 8 and 6, which gives us 8 and 6, which gives us 14 and 16, and 8/7. Yeah, that's what we want to be getting. So I'd say this doesn't sound like a super major second shape. But anyways, once we get one of these notes, say that this is the main idea that we want to get, this minor third. It's like we want a scale that has this sub-minor third. So like, well, let's give it a fifth up too. So we even get a cool 7. So maybe it is close to 7/6. We get a kind of a harmonic sounding 7. Maybe it's a bit more tense. We can. And why not the fourth up? Kind of go the full Aeolian sub-minor. And in some way you could say maybe it's a darker sound. It's more minor, it's going to be more dark. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. And another thing, so what do we do? So in this case I decided to tune a fifth from the fourth, so we get this sub-minor second tune. means we also get kind of a nice Aeolian minor on the 4. So when we're doing things in just intonation, we have that problem where we can't go to every key all the time. Well, we can, but we're not going to get something that's symmetrical. We're going to get every key that's a bit different, and not like wall temper different, that it's like just a bit of a different color. Sometimes it's going to be way different. So if we're going to go on this, so as we made a subminor between C and E, that means since we have the 5th in the E flat, we're going to have a kind of a super major scale here. And we already put the nice 4th and 5th. Let's see what this kind of sounds like using a couple of these chords. So that progression doesn't really have that much flow to it. The B flat isn't really going to give us too much. We got the warped 5th there. We're gonna get a bunch of these super major tries too, like on the A flat too. And of course we have all the other notes that aren't necessarily in that mode, and those are other things that allow us to go to different keys. So this key of D, this should have a nice 3rd here. So we got these Pythagorean 3rds. Got the major kind of a Pythagorean all 5ths. So you can hear that 3rd is a bit big. It's still nice though. It also gives us a bit more distance between this subminor . So a scale like this could be interesting too. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was a bit of the kind of like aleatoric music, but how that happens once you're given a new microtonal scale. So we know essentially what's going to happen when we hit the notes. If you've seen some of my detuned harpsichord videos, it's a clavichord. It's not really harpsichord at all. It has dynamics and all of that. Sometimes you have to put some names so that people come to see the video if the instrument doesn't have a name that's commonly known. So sometimes it's a clavichord, sometimes it's a harpsichord, sometimes a mini piano, sometimes a harp, whatever you want to call it. It's called the clavichord. And we're going to know that the keys are going to give us a general sound, and at least in this case that they're going to be in order. They're going to be going up. That's not always the case in some of the videos with the detuned harpsichords. Some notes are higher, some notes are lower, and some notes will get a more percussive sound because you get a high note that's really detuned, so you'll kind of, I don't know, it's almost like playing a drum machine keyboard or a sampler, that some of them will give you these cool percussive notes that can be used as like a rhythm thing for it as well, instead of just tuned notes. So in that case, that's a bit more extreme, because you're given something that's like totally chaotic and you're trying to find some notes to make a melody. And in this as well, we kind of have an idea, because we did design what we want, we design what the modes are, we still tune some things, so there's some triadic harmony. But in the end, especially if we start to add more notes, we start to have to just listen to what's going on to move, because if it's like, okay, you have a concert right now, you have to play, you have to start improvising. What do you do when you don't actually know what the chords are going to do? You can't just start playing a song and hope that it translates into a new tuning system, because most of the time it won't. It's like okay, I want to play this tune that was like, that's not bad, that's not bad. Sometimes it works, but sometimes we can start and we'll do something like, it's like, uh-oh, we're in a key with a fifth, but what can we do with that? So we can often just start with some melodies that start to appear. Often I like to think of it as remembering different patterns. So different patterns are often going to give us certain kinds of shapes. So fourth and second kind of sus patterns are always nice. And it depends on how you're tuning as well, because I often tune sequences of fourths and fifths. So there's a chance that in a lot of keys we'll have something that works for the sus keys. And because of those types of fourths and fifths, we're going to get something that has some kind of stability and resonance. We can also play with different types of semitones. The tiny ones and the big ones. The hyperchromaticism can also sometimes give us some nice resources. Because as we get all of these dense notes, something's gonna start resonating. Stronger resonances are going to capture. And this is with an acoustic instrument. With a digital instrument, you have to find different ways to use a speaker to trigger those resonances, because just having them together in a scale isn't going to make the sympathetic resonance that you need for other tones to start shining. So the density will work in a different way. We can also see patterns really nice, or hear patterns really nice. So maybe that was all the ideas I wanted to share today about what kind of things here. You got to hear it a bit today. I guess I was kind of getting really into playing this scale. It's kind of a nice one. So if you have any questions about these aleatory natures, if you have questions about the subminors, if you want me to make a video about a certain tuning or a certain type of idea or a question, just leave it in the comments or send me a message on some social media where you can find me. And until next time.